Please subscribe to our channel, Pacific Front Untold, and be sure to leave a comment after watching a video.
On the night of July 7, 1937, the Marco Polo Bridge, also known as the Lugao Bridge in China, became an infamous sight in world history when a skirmish between Japanese and Chinese troops marked the beginning of the Second Sino-Japanese War. The events at this stone bridge near Beijing quickly escalated into a full-scale war that devastated China and altered the course of both Asian and world history. Built in 1189 during the Jin dynasty, the Marco Polo Bridge spans the Yongding River and holds great cultural and architectural value. Marco Polo, the Venetian explorer, traveled across China in the 13th century and described the bridge's impressive lion sculptures in his travel accounts. This made it renowned in the West and stood for centuries as a symbol of strength. However, in 1937, it became the unlikely focal point of a brewing conflict that had long been simmering. Following Japan's occupation of Manchuria in 1931, relations between China and Japan were increasingly strained. The Japanese Imperial Army had established a foothold in northern China, and under the pretense of seeking peace and stability, the army aimed to expand its control over the region. In contrast, the Chinese nationalist government, despite facing internal issues, saw itself as the defender of Chinese sovereignty against Japanese encroachment. By 1937, Chinese and Japanese troops were stationed near Beijing. Skirmishes and provocations were common, but on the night of July 7th, a Japanese soldier went missing near the bridge during routine night exercises. When he reappeared later, the initial confusion had already sparked a confrontation. Japanese troops demanded entry into the nearby town of Wanping to search for the soldier, which Chinese forces refused, leading to gunfire that quickly escalated. The standoff at the Marco Polo Bridge could have ended with negotiations, as had previous skirmishes between China and Japan, but this incident was different. The Japanese army mobilized reinforcements to the region, believing that the Chinese nationalist government would surrender control rather than resist. Instead, Chinese forces, bolstered by a growing sense of nationalism and the leadership of Chiang Kai-shek, held their ground. This stand at the Marco Polo Bridge became a symbol of resistance. As the fighting around the Marco Polo Bridge continued, public outcry in China intensified, with people across the country demanding a unified stand against Japanese aggression. This surge of national sentiment led both the Chinese and Japanese sides to commit more troops, escalating the initial skirmish into a full-scale war. This conflict, which lasted 8 years, ultimately drew in foreign nations and contributed to some of the most notorious events of World War II. The Marco Polo Bridge Incident marked the start of a full-scale war between China and Japan, leading to the Second Sino-Japanese War. During the Marco Polo Bridge skirmish itself, the initial casualties were relatively limited, with estimates suggesting around a few hundred soldiers on both sides were killed or wounded in the early days of fighting. This seemingly small clash quickly escalated, setting off a conflict that would engulf China for nearly 8 years. The Second Sino-Japanese War resulted in staggering losses. It is estimated that around 20 million Chinese civilians and soldiers lost their lives, while Japanese military casualties reached approximately 500,000. The devastation to Chinese infrastructure and society was profound, leaving a lasting impact on generations to come and significantly altering the political landscape in Asia. This conflict ultimately merged with the broader battles of World War II in Asia, as Japan expanded its military campaigns across the continent. The war was marked by widespread atrocities, including the Nanjing Massacre, and left an indelible impact on Chinese society and the geopolitical landscape of Asia. China's resistance, fueled by the incident at Marco Polo Bridge, also impacted Chinese national identity. It led to the eventual involvement of the Allies in the Pacific theater, bringing attention to the suffering and resilience of the Chinese people. The war laid the groundwork for post-war geopolitics, and it had significant effects on the eventual rise of the People's Republic of China in 1949. Today, the Marco Polo Bridge is a solemn reminder of the conflict that began there. In China, it symbolizes resistance against foreign aggression and is a historical site that serves to educate and memorialize those who suffered during the war. The lions of the Marco Polo Bridge, described centuries ago, now witness a story of endurance and resilience that continues to shape Chinese national consciousness. The Marco Polo Bridge Incident teaches us about the delicate balance of international relations and the far-reaching consequences of seemingly minor conflicts. It also serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of peace and diplomacy in the face of escalating tensions.